alignment. An alignment that doesn't expect that children who leave primary school illiterate and innumerate can go into secondary school and end up leaving certified. That's a misalignment of thought to expect that illiterate primary school leavers can become certified secondary school leavers. And so we must fix the system from the root in order to get fruit and shoot when we get to the later stage. There must be also a pedagogic change, collaborative learning. We are still stuck in the past, a very teacher-centered focus in education permeates most of our schools. There are exceptions, there are principals who are exceptions, and there are teachers who are exceptions. But by and large, we are still too much teacher-centered rather than learner-centered. Our teacher training institutions like this one, the Shortwood Teachers College, must be teaching our teachers how to be learner-centered teachers. And if that is not happening, we cannot expect that when they get into the classroom, there will be any change in what our education system is delivering. Our curriculum needs to be more than reading, writing, and arithmetic. We have to move beyond that. Our curriculum, we talk a lot these days about STEM, and then they have put the A in STEM, the arts, so that it's not just science and technology, engineering and math. They put the arts, so it's now STEAM. But apart from STEM or STEAM or reading, writing, and arithmetic, one of the things that we need to look at is social and emotional learning. That is where the type of cultural change that we need to be inspiring will take place. The social and emotional learning. The learning gaps that exist, which is the fifth fundamental principle, is the lack of equity. There are learning gaps at various levels. One of these gaps, what is spoken about, is referred to as sometimes as educational apartheid. And that educational apartheid speaks to the almost parallel education systems that we have running, where there is one system for the haves and another for the have-nots, where those who are able to pay for education are guaranteed quality, excellent education, because we do have excellent education being delivered in many schools in Jamaica. But there are those other schools that are under-resourced, understaffed, and unable to deliver that same quality education. That is one type of inequity, gross inequity that we have. Another type of inequity is the gender gap. We have found that the philosophy that seems to guide education in Jamaica appears from the statistics to favor girls over boys. Boys do not perform as well the way that we traditionally teach. They don't naturally learn in the ways that teaching is delivered in most classrooms in Jamaica. And in fact, the same culture problem exists in that education is seen by many as somewhat sissy-ish. So there are some boys, especially when they get to high school stage, who if they are diligent, if they are bookworms, as we would call them, that's frowned upon. That's not the image that teenage boys want to have, to be studious and focused on education. For girls, it's looked upon as a good thing, but for boys, there are other things that are more attractive and that make them more macho, make them more, I don't even know what's the current terminology, but being a bookworm is not the way to go. It's not the way to go. And so that is the second inequity, apart from the have and the have-nots and the gender gap. That's the second inequity. Gender gap is the second inequity. The third inequity that we have in our education system is the lack of access for persons with disabilities. And by disabilities, we speak of all types of disabilities. Persons with physical disabilities sometimes physically can't get into the classrooms or get into the schools because there are no ramps. Sometimes there are